On today's show, why will Jason Kidd be back with the Dallas Mavericks? Does he have a special connection to Kyrie that it's necessary? We'll talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
10 Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media and member and NBA channel manager with Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I've been recording playoff previews all day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen every day. Subscribe and follow for free wherever you get podcasts or on YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, comment anything below. Let us know. I'm curious about this one. I'm curious if there's any yeses in this.
Ooh.
Do you believe the Dallas Mavericks can compete again under Jason Kidd? If you want to support the show, text us and get text alerts from us on Mavs rumors and more throughout the offseason. Subscribe to our subtext. You can text the number 214-643-8637 or follow the link in the description below. And to download Game Time app, create an account, use your code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, and contributor at Mavs.com. The coaching crooner, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
All right, so you've interviewed all the Locked On hosts who are in the actual playoffs.
All 20, yep.
Well, okay, so not the playoffs,
Postseason, play-in, playoffs, everything, yeah.
Participation ribbons, all of them. Which host has talked you into their team going to the finals?
I think I got talked out of several teams more so than I got talked into teams. I got completely talked out of the Heat. I don't believe the Heat can win anything after talking to Wes Goldberg. I got talked out of the Grizzlies a little bit because they were like, well, we're supposed to be really good at rebounding, but Steven Adams is gone. And so we've been 13th in rebounding since Steven Adams been out. And I was like, okay, well, that's not good.
Steven Adams being the key to their whole season. What is going on?
That's like when Maxey was out and we were saying like, oh, Maxey's the key to the Mavericks defense becoming good again. And that proved to not
I will
be
say
true.
this. It is pretty sickening for the people who don't like the Lakers, aka myself.
You.
They're about to play the Timberwolves, who on the last day of the season, Rudy Gobert punches somebody and McDaniels breaks his hand. So they're both out. And if they win, they're going to get the freaking Grizzlies, who are dealing with their own stuff and all of that too. And I'm like, what are the odds? What's going on?
It's just, that's just been really weird. So, but yeah, those will be all across Locked On and on Locked On NBA. So you can check out that. But mentioned at the top of the show, but want to mention again, our subtext. If you want to support the show, this is another way you can do it. This is a next level for the Raccoon Squad. If you want to text us, we will respond to your text messages. You can get alerts from us. We'll send out Mavs rumors throughout the offseason, draft stuff, trade stuff, all kinds of stuff. Text our subtext. It's a link in the description. It's just another way you can support us, get text alerts from us, and text us, and we'll respond. So go ahead and check that out. But today, we're going to talk about Jason Kidd. There's a lot of things to talk about with Jason Kidd because he's back. Like, he's coming back. I've gotten some questions. Is Jason Kidd going to come back? And the answer is yes, because we've heard from two people in charge about this. Does he have a special connection to Kyrie Irving? That's something that I want to talk about. And then we'll get into the Mavs investigation on tanking and Jason Kidd's role and all of that. But let's start with this. So we've heard from both Mark Cuban and Nico Harrison that Jason Kidd will, in fact, be the Dallas Mavericks head coach next season. I'm going to ask you the $100 million question, Isaac Harris. Why?
I mean, I'm still going to push back again and say it doesn't lock it in that he's going to be there. I actually went back to 2021. This is 2 seasons that Kidd's been head coach. I went back to the offseason that, Rick ended up leaving. Technically, Rick left on his own. We know all the stuff behind this, all that stuff. But at the end of that playoff series, Mark Cuban was like texting with Tim McMahon and those tweets coming out of like, hey, the grass isn't always greener on the other side about the coaching change. And like,
I agreed with him.
Yeah. And all this stuff about, shooting down the coaching change stuff. Rick Carlisle's bouncing and what, a week, a month after that, 3 or 4 weeks after that. I'm just saying things could change over the offseason. I wouldn't put it 100%, but they're saying all the stuff now. So like, hey, Jason's our guy, all this stuff. I mean, if you think about it the other way, it's like, all right, well, if they didn't come out and say that, then he's probably already fired, right? Like you almost got to like back him at this point. So you say why? I think the biggest reason is the biggest reason you brought him in the first place, player relationships. And the number one thing you hear about, I mean, we still haven't had, as bad as this season has been, we still haven't had the Athletic, ESPN, whatever report come out.
Stein.
That's like, Mark Stein, Substack, like we haven't had any of those. I mean, to my knowledge, unless I'm missing one, I haven't seen any paragraph in an article that, man, Jason Kidd and the players, they just don't connect. And there was that one little thing from Tim McMahon where he's like, I don't know if his voice was getting heard there at the, one of those last Hornets games or something like that.
But that wasn't reporting, right? Like that was Tim McMahon connecting the dots in that if they didn't respond after a Hornets loss, then how could they be listening to their coach, which is what we've been doing this whole time. But that's not even like that, like to your point, that's not even reporting as of, well, the team's not listening to him, because of blah, blah, blah. That's just looking at what it is and saying, well, they're probably not.
and listen, when a team has a season like this, I mean, it's like prey, like on the, like for, the trying to do like a Lion King reference here. It's like it's just an animal just like they're waiting to be devoured for media and journalists and content producers and everything. I'm like, dude, I got to do the tell-all piece, right? Bill Simmons is tweeting out, making jokes about it. Like, can't wait for this tell-all piece from the Mavs in the season. We still haven't gotten it yet. We could be getting it, but we still haven't gotten it yet. And if nothing does come out, then that's the stuff, like that's the type of stuff of like, if the players didn't like Jason Kidd, if Luka Doncic didn't like Jason Kidd, it would be out by now. We know of one player in particular who didn't have a great time this season, and his agent is very adamant about that. If there was some type of disconnect with Jason Kidd, that would be leading the charge too, as far as like players connecting with Jason Kidd. We just haven't saw those reports. So why is he still going to be the head coach, or why are they saying he'll be the head coach? Is because it's a players coach league, and to everything that we know so far, the players still connect with him, and other players across the league respect him.
You even
that
look
was
at
the
like
longest winded answer ever. But.
You look at Frank Vogel. He won a championship with the Lakers in 2020, and then they go 33-49 the season after next, and then he's fired, right? Like that's just how it goes for some of these teams. If you have a letdown year, even after like winning a title, you're probably gone if some of those stories start coming out. And the stories started coming out about Frank Vogel. They have not about Jason Kidd yet. So for all we know, he's still
yet. We're recording this on Monday, April 10th.
Yeah, yet.
There could be something come out this week about whatever, and like that would nullify everything we just said.
Yeah, and so we haven't heard anything else. On the contrary, at this point, do Mark Cuban and Nico Harrison put too much stock in last season and give Jason Kidd too much credit for last season? Because it does seem like he's getting a pass this season because of how well last season went, even though they all talked about it and said that, we overachieved and all that kind of stuff. And now they're like, okay, well, we underachieved now, and we're not taking credit from Jason Kidd.
Well, it's because of the take foul and how fast the NBA was this season. So I mean,
nice penetrating thrust to the middle of the-
you can't put that on Jason Kidd. What are you talking about? I mean, for me, even with the question to me of like, I feel like we both have random people ask us right now, which I think you're probably more adamant about your answer than me of, hey, is Kidd the guy right now? What would you do with Jason Kidd right now? And it's like, I'm kind of like indifferent on it still, because I think I do fall in that camp. I think I do fall in the camp of, hey, year one, he did rally the guys. Year one, they did connect with him really well, and they were like fully inspired, played hard, played their butts off, had a lot of fun, had a ton of team chemistry.
Yeah,
the coaching staff, all of that stuff. This year has been a disaster. So it's like they almost like equal out for me. I can't give you the answer of like, how much more do you need to see before you have a full answer? Like, is it halfway into next season? I'm just at like 0 now. I'm kind of just back to neutral, like ground. Yeah, I'm back to neutral of like, all right, you kind of got to win me over, or I don't know.
So he had to win me over the first season because of all we saw from Jason Kidd before that. If you heard the episode we did when Jason Kidd got hired, I was not for it. Didn't think that he was a good choice for the organization. And so he had to win me over. So he won me over last year. And then now I've gone back down to where I was. So I went from like, I don't know, -5 to 0 back down to -5 where I was. But coming up, I'll tell you why. One sneaky reason that Jason Kidd is returning as head coach to Dallas Mavericks. Sneaky. And I'll tell you about that next. But before we do, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off tickets to your next event. Buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. I just watched the WNBA draft. Our Dallas Wings drafted 4 players, traded for another player. They literally drafted basically 3, 4, and 5 in the draft and took a ton of shooters. So if you want to go to a Dallas Wings game, you want to go check out all kinds of stuff around DFW, use the Game Time app and snag tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, all one word, all caps, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem your code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
They got a Brazilian pick 4. The trade that they
yes, yeah, Lou, yeah, from UConn.
No, I think it's the other girl.
No, from UConn. She's Brazilian. Oh no, Soares is Brazilian. Sorry, yeah, the center. Yeah. She's gonna be out for the season because of an injury. But yeah, the other girl, Lou from UConn, was born in Mexico, grew up in France, and is like a French citizen. Went to Ireland to play high school basketball, then went to UConn and is now a Dallas Wing. So she has traveled. But you can go listen to Lockdown Women's Basketball about the draft. All right, Isaac. There's one reason I think that Jason Kidd is back, even more so than they went to the Western Conference Finals reason from last season. I think that if you don't have Jason Kidd as your head coach, or if you bring in a new coach that Kyrie doesn't know, I think you have less of a chance to keep Kyrie. And I think that's the most important thing to this organization. We heard it from Mark Stein. He wrote it recently. The most important thing for this organization is to re-sign Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of keeping Luka happy, those things are in tandem, right? Like that's the same thing. Bringing back Kyrie. I think Jason Kidd has the connection with Kyrie, which you said it at the top. He has a relationship with players. That's the whole reason why they brought in this duo of Nico Harrison and Jason Kidd, that Mark Cuban believes that those guys will have relationships with the stars that eluded him for so many years, right? When they had Dirk, couldn't get anybody else to come in next to him because of the former duo that was at coach and GM. And so now you bring in the opposite of those guys and try to bring in like a former player that's now a coach that everybody respects. You bring in Nico Harrison that has relationships with everybody in the league, and we've seen it all throughout the last 2 years. And I think that because of Kyrie Irving and his free agency and the connection Jason Kidd has with Kyrie Irving, I think that's a sneaky, underrated reason why Jason Kidd would be back.
Yeah, as long as Kyrie thinks it went well. Like it could go the other direction if Kyrie didn't think, once he's been with him that it went well.
See Brooklyn Nets, Steve Nash. Like,
okay, this is gonna be a throwback, but back when Kyrie first got to Dallas, he'd been there like 3 or 4 weeks, I guess. He'd played a handful of games for the Mavs. I actually asked him, I was like, what's it like playing for Jason Kidd compared to like your past coaches? And Kyrie gave this like longer answer about Kidd, but one of the first parts at the beginning was, I respect him like I respect all my head coaches, and blah 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 blah. And it was funny because afterwards, a couple, people in the room turned around and looked at him. We were laughing. And he's like, "Oh, okay, so about Steve Nash, about some of those." But
touche.
But no, yes, if Kyrie thinks, here's the thing about getting Kyrie when you did, is he at least gets to see everything. Like Dallas,
You said when you did, you looked at me as if it was like I did it. Sorry.
When Nick traded for Kyrie.
I am the shadow head coach, so.
You are. But when Kyrie came in, he at least got to play under Kidd and know what it's like to play for Kidd an organization and play with Luka and all this stuff to where, yeah, you're not just like blindly signing with a team without knowing any of this stuff in the offseason. So, yes, if it went well, yes, if he still, has a lot of respect for Jason Kidd as a head coach, he thinks he's a good head coach and all of this stuff, then that is definitely working to your favor right now. That you don't want to, like, one of the biggest cards besides the money part that you can play right now of Dallas is, hey, you know what? Now, you hope that it's a better version of that instead of, what you're stepping into because you just lived it. And it's like, well, that's a good thing, but it's pretty miserable. But you see what I'm saying? Like, but it could go the other direction too. If he was like, if he got here and was like, dude, I don't think Jason Kidd can coach at all, then and they're holding on to him, then that doesn't work out in your favor. But I think it's the other way, like you're saying.
So you're telling me that Kyrie's re-signing depends on how we think Kyrie has evaluated the situation and what Kyrie values in a situation?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what Kyrie wants this.
You know what I think about that?
It's great. It's great, dude. Dude, it's great. It's great. It's great, broski. Bro, name it. It's great. It's great.
Can I ask you this question? This is probably, I gotta watch out. Have you ever heard of anybody like when they brag on Jason Kidd as like a player? If a player brags about Jason Kidd being a head coach, have you heard a player talk about his like X's and O's and like his coaching ability, or is it not 95% of the time is, dude, he was a brilliant basketball player and he was a point guard in this league. And
so when you're saying when they ask about Jason Kidd, the coach, they always talk about Jason Kidd, the player.
Yeah, and just like how much they respect him, he was a brilliant basketball player. I just feel like that's the overwhelming thing. That, I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I'm sure I am very wrong.
The thing, okay, so what I go back to with Jason Kidd a lot is one of the reasons why the Mavs offense is the way that it is this season. I've said this several times. This is my new, we talked to Brunson at Media Day thing, is that when Jason Kidd came in and played under Rick Carlisle, Jason Kidd wanted to have control of the offense and run it, right? He was a veteran point guard, and Rick Carlisle.
We'll do a podcast about this.
They're talking. They're discussing the podcast.
That's an inside joke from yesterday. We have inside jokes now that are 1 day old.
We got time, baby.
We got time to get something to eat.
We got time to get something to drink.
So, but when Jason Kidd came around with Dallas,
you didn't finish it.
You got time to go to the Mavs hangar shop because
that's what I'm talking about.
When and he wanted to just run it and like let the players run. Let us players run it. We know what to run better. Like we know the things to call. We know the offense to run better. And Rick Carlisle, being who Rick Carlisle is, wanted to dictate everything and wanted to call out all the plays from the sidelines. And that was a moment of their friction. Now Jason Kidd comes in as a head coach, and what do? Luka calls everything. Luka's like they're calling some stuff from the sidelines, but it's mostly just Luka, Kyrie, do the things that you want to do at this point. And now that's where we are with Jason Kidd. I'm not sure what Kyrie thinks about that or what players think about that. I think Luka likes it, right? I think Luka likes to be able to call stuff, but I don't know if it's the best for the Dallas Mavericks themselves. They've been a successful offense. They were not the best offense last year, but they were better this year.
And it's the Luka relationship that means the world, especially now, especially with all the rumors. We talked about what Luka responded with it yesterday and all this stuff. Guys, if Luka did not want Jason Kidd there, he would be gone. So it's like, now, did he go to the front office and was like, hey, I want Rick gone? No, I mean, we would have probably heard about that, but we at least heard some grumblings about their relationship and all of that. So, I think if it was a make or break deal for Luka, I think he would probably already voiced it to the front office by now.
Coming up, let's talk about the Mavs investigation because the Mavericks did some sneaky things.
Just those words again haunt me.
In the last 2 games of the season, and the NBA is officially going to investigate that. What role did Jason Kidd have in that, and what will happen with this investigation? So we'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. This is going to be so fun for the playoffs and especially the play-in. I'm looking right now at Hawks versus Heat. And I have a bunch of players in front of me. You can pick 2 to 6 players and more or less on their projections. So Trae Young, 24.5 points against the Heat. He was not good against the Heat last season at all. I'm going to go less than 24.5.
More.
More? Then
I
24
love
and a
the
half.
play-in, bro.
Jimmy Butler, 27 and a half. I'm going to go less on that because he hasn't been scoring that much this season. So I'll go less on that. And then I can pick Tyler Hero, 20 and a half. Yeah, give me less on that one too. I put down $20, I can win 45. If I hit the power play, if I put down $20, I can win 100.
Whoa.
There's all kinds of different things you can do. And if you use the promo code LOCKEDON, all one word, 100% deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com. Download the app today. All right, Isaac, again, want to remind you guys about our subtext. Text the number below or go to the link in the description and you can text us and we will text you back and send alerts and all kinds of stuff. So subscribe.
Hey, text me about the play-in. I'll love to talk about it.
You can text me about the Wings right now. I'm excited about that.
Just a reminder. Everybody's going to watch the play-in and you're going to see the takes fly on Twitter and say, imagine not liking the play-in. Well, imagine not liking a honey bun either, but a honey bun's not good for you. And I'm just saying, there's plenty. I will watch these games and I think it'll be great, but I don't think it's the best for the overall game. Anyway,
you are the only one on that. You and Jeff Van Gundy are the only ones on this still.
Oh no, there's other people out there for sure.
The Mavericks, the last month of the season would be irrelevant for the Mavericks without the play-in.
It might have been better for
then they would have tanked earlier.
I mean, there's probably a good portion of this audience right now saying that sounds awesome. I'm not saying I'm in that camp. I'm just saying there's probably a good amount of people there saying, yeah, they should have done it earlier.
Also, 10 seeds are 0-4 since the start of the play-in. So we'll see what happens if any 10 seeds win. But the investigation, the NBA is officially investigating the Dallas Mavericks because of their tanking. Now, if you're like me, you were like, hey, hold up. What the Jazz have been doing with Lauri Markkanen, what the Blazers have been doing with Damian Lillard, what the Rockets have been doing just by running their team this way. Like, it's just, that's way more a disgrace than what the Mavericks did for two out of 82 games. So why is it such a big deal for the Dallas Mavericks? Well, it comes to what Jason Kidd said before the Kings game. He gets up to the podium and he said,
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
He didn't say that. But then he says, he starts reading out the injuries because he started to do that before every game because he got annoyed with people asking. And then he said, things change. Understanding as an organization, they've made this decision for all these guys to sit, basically. And then when asked about, well, how did the players feel about this decision? He answered like this: we're fighting for our lives, but the organization has made a decision to change, and we have to go by that. Basically saying, well, Mark Cuban and Nico Harrison decided that we were going to tank these games, and we're going to tank these games. And so now the NBA is investigating this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the simple thing in this case is like, listen, everybody, so many people tank. And yes, I mean, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Are we really going to investigate the Mavs here? Like, you're going to have to investigate all these other teams out here that it's more than their star players. I mean, some of these injury reports are absolutely insane over these past, week or two.
Well, look at the Spurs one. The Spurs and the Blazers ones were ridiculous.
Yeah, that last Blazers one was kind of funny. It was so long. But yeah, you have to think that they're only investigating because Jason Kidd said that, before the game. Then they launched the investigation. And then after everybody else is like, oh my gosh, did Kidd really have to say this stuff? Really? He opens up the San Antonio game, and Brad makes the comment post game about Brad Townsend says, man, basically paraphrasing, how do you feel now the season's over? And he said, well, the season was over a few days ago. I'm like, oh crap, you're doubling down again.
You guys the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was one of those moments I want to say he probably wishes he could have back, but I don't think the league's going to be able to, there's no way the league's going to be able to punish him for something.
I'm going to push back on the fact that you think Jason Kidd would want this comment back, because I think that we tend to think that Jason Kidd doesn't really care too much about what he says in pressers. I do think he said this on purpose because he said it two different ways. He said, we understand the organization, they've made this decision. He also said, but the organization has made the decision to change. He said that two different ways. And then he said it again. He said the season ended, days ago. I think he was sending a message to the front office saying that he didn't like this, that, the players didn't like it, he didn't like it, and that, hey, we still had a chance and we didn't go for it. And I think he was sending a message. That's what I think with this. And so I think that the Mavs are going to get fined because Jason Kidd said it out loud. If you didn't say it out loud and just did what the Blazers did and Chauncey Billups was quiet about it, then it wouldn't be a problem. But because he said it at the quiet part out loud, the Mavericks are going to be fined, and I think Jason Kidd did it on purpose.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
You're not with me? You're not on the you're not putting the tinfoil hat on?
No, I don't know about him doing it like on purpose to like, hey, I'm going to take this subtle shot to the front office. I think he could have said it on purpose just because.
You don't think Jason Kidd would take a moment to give a subtle shot
at the front office that
anybody
hired him?
At anybody. He's done it to Luka. He's done it to me. He's done it to McMahon. He's done it to everybody this season.
I mean, we can talk about the deflecting thing again. I mean,
I'm talking about shots, though. Deflecting is a different thing.
But, like, even the shots, though, have come at deflecting. Like, he's deflecting the blame because, and in turn, he's taking shots at other people. I mean, Josh Green, when he's like, yeah, we're supposed to foul. I don't know what he was doing out there. It's like, okay, it's not, you're not taking the blame, so you're going to take a shot at Josh Green. That's been my number one thing with him all season is like it's always someone else's fault. Even like in the exit interviews, talking about the defense, and he said with the current roster, what the roster make, we're not a defensive team, and it's like, yeah, there's some truth to that, but like, I don't know, there's just something, it just rubs me the wrong way. Like, I don't know.
Well, he's doing that here because the organization made this change. Isn't he the organization? Who do you think's more powerful in the organization? Jason Kidd or Nico Harrison?
Probably Jason Kidd, yeah.
Right. Okay. So you're literally either just calling out Mark Cuban and saying Mark Cuban made this decision, or you're like trying to just pass blame to an invisible person because you made this decision with everybody. Like,
I think there's another option in this of saying he's saying it on purpose, but it's more of like the PR move too. It's more of like, yeah, I don't like it. It makes you don't want to look like the dog that just lied down. It's like, all right, I'm done with it. Like it makes you look a little better if it's like, yeah, I disagreed. Like,
so Jason Kidd did the same thing up with this that Mark Cuban did with the Jalen Brunson thing on Wednesday.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, kind of, right? Like, hey, I want to make myself look a little bit better, but overall, it's just going to make us all look worse.
But I mean, you could say Luka kind of did the same thing when he was like, yeah, I didn't like the decision. And then they're like, were you part of it? And he's like, oh, yeah, I was. Like, okay.
He said we came to an agreement and it is what it is, but he didn't like it. So I think you can agree to something and still not like it. But Jason Kidd didn't say that we came to an agreement. He's like, they did this. They did this to us.
He's part of it.
Do you think a coach has to do that though? The coach has to be like, oh, we have to make up. There's this thing in 30 Rock where there's an episode where all the employees are getting mad at the Tina Fey character who's like their boss basically. And then she goes to her boss and is like, how do I get them to be motivated when they're all mad at me? And the guy's like, well, you just make up a fake person. And then you blame everything on that fake person. And then all of a sudden everybody else is like, okay, we're fine. So they made up this fake person, but it turns out that person was real. And so then they went and they stormed that guy's office. And I feel like that's what we're doing. We're just making up this fake person, the organization.
I also love how Jason Kidd referenced you guys so many times in his exit interview.
Oh, talking about like us, the media.
Yeah, this was a takeaway for me this season. If we just did like Jason Kidd takeaways, he really did pay attention to what media and everybody was like saying about this team. Like he referenced Mavs Twitter multiple times.
Yes.
How many times throughout
Twitter
the season about you guys
or the player?
Yeah, like I text you about it in the the X interview is like, dude, he take a drink for every time he says you guys. So if you guys will write about this or you guys, tell you guys this, and it's like, it's it's just an observation of like, dude, he does care what people are saying and writing and all that.
Where was the one? I'm trying to find the one where he was like,
I'm not playing. I'm watching, just like you guys.
No, where was the one where he was like, I can't find it, but the one he's like, We watch everything. The one where he talked about my tweet and he was like, we're reading everything you guys are saying and trying to make you guys happy. He was joking.
Yeah, that was great. And here's the thing. If you're listening to this and you're like, why do y'all keep on taking shots at Jason Kidd? It's not that we're taking as much shots as him just providing content. Like, for years we had Rick Carlisle, and Rick was just a jerk. And like, he was an incredible X's and O's coach, and you heard everybody talk about how much of his genius he was when it came to basketball. And like, from game prep to timeouts to X's and O's to adjustments in the game. I mean, every coach would rave about it, players would rave about it. Everybody just talk about how much of a
GM survey.
Yes, GM survey. Connecting with the players was, a little hard at times for him and stuff. But like, everything, it could be how long he's been in the league and coach the Mavs and all that, but it just almost became robotic at times. He's like, he would take shots at some people in the media, whatever, but he would also take the blame for everything. He wouldn't have, like, it was just all, I'm gonna say, the PR thing, unless we had a bad game, and like, praise on players, take the blame all the time, blah 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 blah. Jason Kidd has said so much stuff over the past 2 years and even this year that it's just endless content. Like, you have to talk about it. Like, you have to bring up all this stuff. And so it's more of that than it is like, why are you guys so fixated on him? Like, dude, well, I mean, he says some interesting things.
I don't think there's many people that are of that thinking. I don't think there's many people that are thinking, why are you guys talking about Jason Kidd so much?
We also have people who work for the Mavs that listen to this podcast.
Oh, so everybody in ticketing. Shout out to everybody in ticketing if you're listening to this and wondering why.
People outside of ticketing that listens. Yeah.
No, but I've heard from ticketing the most, I guess. Or Big Rob. I've heard from Big Rob too. He said he's part of the Raccoon Squad.
Oh, we love Big Rob.
From the Maniacs.
He's
awesome. Guys, again, check out our subtext in the description below. And go listen to Locked On NBA Game to Game about the games and play in starting. If you're a person that likes to play in and actually likes fun basketball,
I'll be watching.
Enjoy the No, you are not allowed to enjoy the play.
No,
you're not.
Watch.
You're not allowed to enjoy. No.
Go Heat, baby.
You're like a Congress person, like voting against insider trading and then going to insider trade when it doesn't when it doesn't pass.
What's the other game on Tuesday night?
It's Hawks Heat and it's
Is that the dumb like Wolves Lakers game?
Yes, it is Wolves Lakers.
God. Okay, so I'll watch one game.
You're gonna watch Hawks Heat? You hate those teams too.
I do.
How many teams do you not hate in the NBA? Because the list is starting to grow.
I don't hate the Hornets.
Hawks, Heat, Lakers, Suns, Grizzlies.
I don't hate the players on the Heat. It's just the organization's history with the.
I'm with you. I don't like that. I'm with you.
I legit hate the Lakers. I don't think there's any other team out there that I'm like, I legit hate them.
You hate the Lakers so much that I did the Lakers playoff preview because I'm the NBA channel manager. And there is a comment already on that video on the Lakers channel that says, Isaac isn't going to like Nick being on this podcast.
Yeah, it was tough for me, I seen that and I was like, all right, you're talking to another.
Shout out to the Raccoon Squad being the brand is so strong. Can we take that from Jesus and Miro? They're done. So can we take your brand is strong? All right, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.